Hi everyone, Ben Rafferty here with another Gemini update. So we've had recently the Google Next and Google I/O conferences, and there's been a lot of stuff announced coming up soon for Gemini and Notebook LM. Quite a lot of those things are not quite here yet, but I'm going to show you the things that are here and that you can start using straight away. So previously when you were chatting with Gemini, you might put in your prompt and create something in there and then export it to Google Docs, or you might use the canvas mode to create something with Gemini. But now you can create files directly in the chat, so saving quite a few steps there. So let's look at how that works. So to create a file in the Gemini chat, you just need to ask for the sort of file that you want to create. So you can create all of the Google files, so Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. You can create Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, CSV files, text files, rich text files, markdown files, PDFs, and latex files, which is like scientific notation. So let's have a look at how it works. As an example, I've put in one of the meeting notes documents that Gemini creates after your meeting. So this is one of my new starter sessions. This is the notes that it created from that session. So I said, can you create a 200-word summary of this session in a Google Doc and a Google Sheet with a list of who attended the session? And I also want a Word document listing all the topics that were covered in the session. And that's all you need to do. So I asked for 3 different types of document there, and I'll set it off going. So you can see it's done its job now. So it's created a 200-word summary in a Google Doc. So here we go. So I've got that summary of the meeting here. It's created me a Google Sheet with the names of who attended the session in there. And it's also created a Word document with all the topics covered in the session. And it's created this Word document here. If I click on it, I can open it and I can see that Word document in there. And you can see it's a docx. It is a Word document. And it said, if you want me to put this Word document into your Google Drive, let me know. So I can ask it and it'll put it into my Google Drive for me. So you can think how this could save a lot of time, particularly if you're trying to automate different processes. I think it's important to understand how it's kind of working here. So it can read documents and it can generate documents, but it can't really edit documents. So how it works is it's using Gemini to generate some Python code, which you can see in here, and that code is then creating the new documents that you've asked for, which is really useful, but it does kind of reimagine documents if you try to get it to edit something. An example that I thought might be useful for this would be to create a gem. So if you want to look at some of my previous videos on gems, you'll see how those work, but those are like stored versions of Gemini which will do a particular task. So I could create a gem which would know that its job is to take the photographs of some handwritten notes that I've given it, take the words out of those notes and summarize that information and then put that into a Word document. And that could be a very useful task. And I tested it out trying to do that sort of thing and trying to get it to fill in an actual form. I gave it the form as a Word document and asked it to fill in that form, and it will take all of the questions from the form and answer the questions, which is brilliant, but it will kind of reimagine that form, so that form doesn't quite look the same as when you put it in. So whether that is good enough for the sort of processes that you might be trying to use it for, I don't know, but I think we're getting there. So I think soon, hopefully, you will be able to edit documents in that sort of way, and that'll be really useful. But for the moment, you can now create new documents in the chat. Another new feature that we've got is that your Gemini chats in the side panel have now got their own history. So if you've created a chat with Gemini in Google Docs about a document, you can come and continue that conversation with Gemini whenever you want to. So it could be in a month's time, you can come back and continue that conversation. So to find that, if you go to a Google Doc, you can come to Gemini in the side panel here, and if I go to the 3 lines up here, you can then see your previous chat history in there, and you can continue that conversation there if you want to do that. So very helpful. So another new feature is that in Google Meet, when you have Gemini take notes for you, you've got some new options in here now. So I press on the pencil up there to go to the notes section. If I come to the more settings here, I can then choose to have either the standard length notes or longer notes. I think that's been around for a little while, that setting, but you can now choose different sections of your notes as well. So you can choose if you want the summary, details, decisions, or next steps, or you can untick different bits if you want to have different bits in there. And you can also have the option to include screenshots of presented content, which means that you'll get thumbnails inside your notes if someone was doing a presentation, which could be really helpful. And just to show you how to control where the notes go to, this is something people ask about a lot, is that on that drop down here, you can choose if the notes go to all the guests or just the guests inside your organization or just the hosts and co-hosts. So if you want to check the notes before they get sent out to other people, select host and co-hosts, and then only the organizer of the meeting or any co-hosts, if there are any, will get those notes. And then you can share them later on if you want to, because they'll just be a standard Google Doc. So another new feature in Google Meet, which I think people will find helpful, is that if someone is doing a presentation in a meeting that you're in and you want to see that presentation, I normally have two screens. So I will try and put the meeting on the bigger screen that I've got so I can see that presentation a bit bigger. But I often want to have the meeting on the smaller screen because my Chromebook screen has got the camera attached to it. And so I want to look at that screen so I can look at the people as I'm talking to them. You can now split those things out so you can put them on different screens. So if someone is doing a presentation, you can hover your mouse over that window in the meeting and click this open the new window button, and that will then pop that presentation out, and I can then drag that off onto another screen, and then you can have that presentation on your big screen and have the people on the other screen, so you can have it on two screens. And the last feature is that if you are recording the video of a meeting, so if you're using the recording feature here to record that video stream, those video recordings are now available automatically to the people that were attended the meeting, so they can download those files if they want to. That's the default setting, so if you want people to not download those files, you'll have to manually restrict them after the meeting, but should be helpful, should make it easier for people to get the access to those recordings. That's it for this month. I'll see you on the next Gemini update.